Greetings, Dragon Ball fans, and welcome to Part 5 of Salaal Khan's suggested What If Vegeta Spared Nappa, where Vegeta just couldn't be bothered killing his oversized sidekick way back in the Saiyan Saga, so Nappa ended up surviving. His now ex-boss man has probably regretted that ever since. Previously, we saw Vegeta step over Nappa's broken body to fight the low-class trash that was Kakarot. Nappa then summoned and managed to crawl to his pod and escape, while the horizon flashed various shades of red and purple. After recovering, he was dragged down the hole by Q to Vegeta's own healing pod. Vegeta's plan to get to Namek didn't go as planned, though, as Nappa had finally realized just how much he meant to the prince. So he instead hopped a space train and left the facility to crumble under the weight of the nuclear fire that was probably meant for him. On Namek, Nappa had a few goals in mind, almost the top of which was figuring out just how Kakarot, or Goku as he calls himself now, could wield so much power while being such a low-class runt. Choosing not to crush anyone around him, Nappa made nice with the locals and ran into Nail, and then Guru. He then had his recent experiences at Vegeta's mercy held up next to his own life, and was not exactly happy with the results. Nail, though, was willing to work with what he had, and so they taught him how to, meditate and stuff. The Earthlings eventually arrived, as did Vegeta, to a very different landscape. The Dragon Balls were all hidden away, and Nappa was sitting pretty at Nail's side. Gohan, Krillin, Dende, and even Nappa got their potentials unlocked and proceeded to stomp on Dodoria and then Zarbon. They then had to find a way to draw the Ginyu Force apart somehow, but Goku's arrival put the cherry atop that cake. With Goku now doing his best impression of a guy he'd met for like 5 minutes, they managed to get Frieza to chase Nail, while Goku and co went about their wishes. Unfortunately, Frieza did not take too kindly to being duped, and left Nappa and Nail in a heap for Piccolo to find and fuse with, while the tyrant himself made a beeline for his ship, and more importantly, that shiny, wish-granting dragon. Now back at that ship too, the recently fused Piccolo goes to work on the first form Frieza, and Dende heals the battle-worn Nappa, all while mourning the loss of Guru. Nappa watches with a smile as Frieza gets slapped around by whoever Nail has become, at least until Frieza takes a buried opportunity to assume his second form. Well, at least now the once diminutive Emperor gets to look Piccolo in the eye as he gets bounced off the ground. Dende eventually finishes healing Nappa, and after taking a moment to test his muscles and his apparent jump in power, he leans out and then asks about Vegeta and Goku. Gohan is ready to charge out and get his father, but Nappa says to wait. Nail is drawing Frieza away, but he needs Vegeta to make it all be okay soon, as Frieza will have something else to worry about. Gohan doesn't really care for Vegeta though, and isn't afraid to say it. So, kneeling back down, Nappa tells Gohan that he knows he wants to save his dad, but they need to fix Vegeta up first. Why? Well, because your dad is mostly alive, whereas Vegeta is fading fast. What with all those holes in his chest. Yeah, but why should they care about Vegeta, though? Well, Nappa can see their point, but it's just that there's no moon on this planet, and Vegeta knows how to... Oh? Yeah, that thing he did on Earth, huh? Yes, little bald man, Vegeta doesn't have a tail anymore. But see, Nappa still has his, and if he can feel his own power properly, he will need the Ozaru to properly outmatch Frieza. But Gohan and Krillin refuse, their memories of the Ozaru not being overly positive, so no. They're going to get Goku first. Don't you worry, Nappa. He'll find a way to beat Frieza. Fine, Nappa says with a shrug. Go get your daddy. As the pair move off to get Goku, Nappa also sneaks out, as best as his bulky form allows, and finally returns with the battered and bloodied Vegeta. Dende is already hard at work, but when they all turn to admire the power of Frieza's now third form, Goku sits up and asks what happened. One moment he's standing there admiring the dragon, and the next he remembers rocks. Lots and lots of rocks, right in his face. And then, suddenly, Dende staring down at him. I think your friend needs help, Nappa says, pointing over at Piccolo's recent crater. Goku shrugs and flies off, powering up on the way, and Nappa then dumps Vegeta at Dende's feet, and sorry little guy, but if you don't mind, could you maybe... Dende sighs and makes Vegeta all glowy, while the rest of them watch the three-way battle of Piccolo, Goku, and the HR Giger form Frieza. Well, let's watch, and more cringe. This hopefully final form is somehow kicking the crap out of both of them, and from the cackling and laughing, he seems to be enjoying it greatly. Vegeta finally wakes up and is greeted by the usual cacophony of Dragon Ball Z combat. Bangs, whooshes, and all that too fast to follow properly jazz. Also Nappa, smiling down at him a bit grimly. Hey, Vegeta, now, I know you don't have a tail anymore, but could you still do that thing, Vegeta? Nappa says, as his tail unfurls from around his waist. Vegeta just stares back at him with disgust, as if he'd be willing to actually help. But then Nappa steps aside so Vegeta can actually see all the Goku and Piccolo blood being liberally splattered everywhere by the monstrous new form of Frieza's, not to mention the feeling of Frieza's power. Fine, Vegeta finally says, before tisking for good measure and holding out his hand. As Frieza holds Goku and Piccolo up, one by hand, the other by tail, a shadow falls across them all, and for a moment Frieza might well imagine that the sky is darkening. Could that dragon be back? Ooh, his! Whatever his thought train, he tosses the two near corpses away and turns towards the looming shadow with a smile on his face. That smile vanishes as Nappa's roar wipes away most of that possible hope for immortality. The pair of fists that land on Frieza's face probably remove the rest. A massive foot then comes sweeping in, and maybe Frieza contemplates his many failings as he bounces and rolls across the surface of this somewhat ruined world. Even that is short-lived, though, as that shadow is back, contrasting nicely with the light generated from a mouth beam. It's been a while since he'd gone Ozaru, but Nappa acclimates quickly and keeps up the pressure, swiping and hitting over and over, and Frieza seems stuck on the losing end of things, for now, which, honestly, is super satisfying. Nappa had often dreamt of beating down on the Emperor like this, but to finally be able to do it?
Come here, you!
He roars gleefully, and reaches out for the man once more. It only occurs to Nappa that he's been having a little bit too much fun at the Emperor's expense when he finally gets the man in his grasp and is attempting to make him into a squeak toy. But nothing is happening. Well, nothing good at least. Upon closer inspection, Frieza actually looks a little different now. Smaller somehow? Oh, another transformation? How many does this guy have? Nappa doesn't get the chance to ponder that question for long, though, as his monstrous fingers are being pried apart. Ah, nuts! Frieza then grabs one of those monstrous fingers and spins around, dragging the oversized Nappa about with nearly impossible force. Nappa tries to decelerate before the rapidly approaching impact, but, oh, right, he's an Ozaru, and Ozaru can't fly. Or at least, he'd never taken the time to learn how while in that form. If his face wasn't being smashed into the ground right now, he might have wondered if it would even be possible with enough practice. A moment later, there is a tugging sensation and then a sharp pinch, and Nappa's whole world collapses to a point. A point at the base of his spine. After the pain subsides, a kick comes in to the side of his chest, and there is more rock smashing his face, legs, and body, as it is his turn to go bouncing and rolling. It's also his turn to see a shadow falling across him, but it's not nearly as impressive as the one he recently cast. He then looks up at the viciously smiling face of the Emperor that he was, until moments ago, gleefully beating to death. No, he hadn't been trying to kill the man. He had been embracing his inner sadist, and had been torturing him. Old habits, eh, Frieza? He sputters. Bad habits, you uppity little monkey. Before Nappa can reply, a glowy purple thing forms in one of Frieza's hands, the other hand still firmly grasping his now limp tail. I knew I should have done this when you first showed at my doorstep, Frieza says, smiling down at him. Well, better late than never. The glowy hand flashes, and there is a different kind of pinching feeling in Nappa's chest. Well, not in, through. And it's not as painful as he would have expected, to be honest, but, oh, right through the spine, huh? Well, Vegeta gets hit in his arm, so sure, why not? Everyone's got their favorite weak spot after all. After contemplating that for a second, Nappa looks over at some movement to see Goku and Vegeta have arrived on the scene, but he really can't bring himself to return Vegeta's smile. Hey, Kakarot, Nappa says weakly. Guess we'll never have that God, will you just die already? Frieza practically screeches, unleashing another glowy purple thing into his chest, point blank. Through the rushing sound in his ears, Nappa hears Vegeta say something totally in character. Probably something like, Ha! Serves you right, Nappa. Goku, Nappa starts to say. Don't be too soft. Frieza just stares down at the man as Nappa splutters and coughs out the words that Vegeta had only ever thought about saying. that he probably would have in a different space and perhaps a more canon timeline. His minor monologue over, and Goku's not looking too happy. "I'll do what I can to save you, brother," Goku says. "There's still time." "Brother," Nappa coughs. "Oh man, you're a trip, aren't you?" "Well, that's okay. I'm not afraid to die now." "Hey, Vegeta, I'm not afraid." "God damn it, Nappa," Vegeta finally says from somewhere far away as the world starts to go dark. Nappa suddenly opens his eyes to see Dende looking down at him with a somewhat bitter smile. "Sorry, Nappa, sir," Dende says, holding up the still severed tail. It didn't grow back." Nappa sits up and stares at the tail for a moment, briefly lamenting the loss of the Azaru, but says for Dende not to worry. Now go hide somewhere. If he dies, they might not win this. He then looks over at where he can sense the energies, and Frieza is again strangling Vegeta with his tail, strangling Goku with a hand, and holding on to Nail's head. He is actually in the process of gleefully kidney-shotting Goku with Nail's face when he learns that Nappa is not dead. "What the hell?" Frieza exclaims as he picks himself back up. "You were dead," he splutters. "I watched you bleed out at my feet. I watched you die." "We Saiyans are hard to perish, Frieza," Nappa says, as his fist connects with the man's jaw. Another punch sends Frieza flying again, and Nappa lands next to Goku, helping him stand back up. While rubbing his throat, Goku asks if Nappa can distract Frieza for a bit, 'cause he's gotta do a thing. Goku then raises his hands in the air, and Nappa looks around to see Nail, or Piccolo, or whatever he calls himself now, picking himself up as well. He nods to the guy, then over at Frieza, and after a somewhat resigned-looking shrug, they both head off to draw Frieza's attention away from the now just standing there, hands in the air, Goku. "How?" Frieza screams. "How are you not dead?" Their smiles don't betray much, but oh crap. Nappa spots Dende creeping over to the still-downed Vegeta, and he's not the only one. Nail moves fast, but not fast enough to save the boy, and the smoldering ruins are all that's left near the still unconscious Vegeta's feet. Oh, he shouldn't have done that. Now, I'm sure an enraged Piccolo, because of Nail, and an enraged Nappa would be quite the sight, but they're just not enough to— "Hey, Frieza!" Goku calls out from nearby. "Catch!" The dust settles, and they all collapse to the ground. Oh, it's over. Nappa smiles up at the man who used to be Nail, the man who used to, well, be? Now he's just laying there, bleeding purple all over the place. And over there is the still smoldering ruin that is, or was, the eternally optimistic Dende. But Nail, the one that had hammered him into an altogether better shape, is— Frieza's cackling fades away as Nappa's hearing washes out, a rush of something in his ears, and arms, and hands, his whole body, washing the world away, everything fading into a burning— Nappa blinks and looks around. What happened? Everything just went yellow, and then there was a burning sensation, and then nothing for what felt like forever. And now this strange pink sky. Where is he? Looking about, he finds himself on a bridge of some sort, and around him there are quite a few fairly sad-looking Namekians with no feet. He sits up and looks about some more, but can't find Nail. When he asks where the guy is, a very large floating Namekian, with a very familiar voice, answers. Wait, is that Guru? Oh, so Nail's still alive, huh? Wait, alive? What does that mean? He looks down at their feet again, and then down at his own. He's got no legs. But then, how is he sitting? Dende floats up and smiles sadly at him. Barring Guru, they all lament their premature departures for a while, and Nappa is about to admit and he's just sad that he never got to fight Goku again when another familiar voice joins them, screaming. Nappa tries to calm the small, bald man down, but only when he finally runs out of air does Krillin stop to take a breath. He's about to start screaming again, but he instead looks around and then slumps a bit. Oh, well, crap. Krillin looks at Nappa and the collected Namekian ghosts and sighs. This place hasn't changed a bit. They progress slowly down the line of souls for a while, then, mid-sentence, there is a flash, and suddenly Krillin and Nappa are floating there, all alone. Yeah, Krillin says, smiling. What happened? Nappa asks, looking around, just a little bit freaked out.
Someone made a wish.
Oh, Nappa says happily. Then, wait, I thought Guru being dead meant that... Yeah, it's probably Earth-set, Krillin says. Shenron can revive multiple people at once, unlike the Namekian ones. Oh, Nappa says. Then, scratching his head, he leans over to look at Krillin's ghost tail, then at his own. I think they forgot about you. Krillin smiles and says that it depends on the wording, and, well, he'd actually been here before, so he's kinda screwed, unless they can wish him back with Purunga somehow. It all depends on the dragon, you know? Krillin says with a resigned shrug. Not really, but whatever you say, little guy. My name's Krillin, by the way. Okay, Tiny. Somewhere, back on a war-torn Namek, Dende sits up, and his lips curl up in a smile he doesn't entirely understand. Then he spots Purunga, and that smile turns genuine. Back in Otherworld, though, when an attendant wanders past, they confirm that yes, the Namekians were all wished back, before they'd even arrived at Yama's, lucky souls. Nappa asks why he wasn't, and the attendant flips through his checklist. No body. Oh, yeah, Krillin says. He looks away and shivers at his own recent experience. You kind of blew up, man. Ha! I always knew I'd go out with a bang, Nappa says, and slaps Krillin on the back. And so, as the attendant stares back at them, laughing just a little bit nervously, we will bring Part 5 to a close. How do you think Nappa will fare in Otherworld? Will Krillin be able, or even willing, to grease some wheels for the big guy? Or will Yama's judgment send Nappa somewhere slightly less friendly? And what of Namek itself? Will Goku and the still surviving Vegeta be enough to end Frieza's tyranny? Find out next time on Dragon Ball, What If Vegeta Spared Nappa?